It was my third month on the night shift at Willow Creek Rehabilitation Center, a sprawling facility tucked away in the rural outskirts of a mid-sized Midwestern town. The center specialized in treating severe addictions, opioids, meth, alcohol, and co-occurring mental health disorders like schizophrenia and bipolar. The building itself was a converted old asylum from the 1920s, with thick stone walls, barred windows on the lower levels, and a perimeter fence topped with razor wire that hummed faintly from the electric current running through it. Security was tight. Key card access for every door, panic buttons in every room, and a network of over 50 cameras feeding into a central monitoring station where I spent most of my 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. shifts. The job wasn't glamorous. I was a 28-year-old former mall cop who'd taken the gig for the steady pay and the quiet. Most nights it was just me, a thermos of coffee, and the low buzz of the fluorescent lights in the control room. I'd monitor the feeds, log any unusual activity, and occasionally do a walkthrough of the grounds if a sensor tripped. The residents were locked down after 10 p.m., so disturbances were rare. But there was always an undercurrent of unease in a place like that. You'd hear muffled cries from nightmares echoing down the halls, or the occasional thud of someone pacing in their room. The staff whispered about the building's history, suicides in the old days, experimental treatments gone wrong. I dismissed it as folklore to spook the newbies. That changed on a bitterly cold January night in 2018. The temperature had plummeted to minus 15 degrees Fahrenheit, with wind chills making it feel like minus 30. Snow flurries danced in the floodlights outside, and the fence was crusted with ice. I was halfway through my shift, around 2:15 a.m., nursing my second cup of coffee and scrolling through my phone to stay awake, when the motion sensor at the front gate pinged. It was a loud, insistent beep that jolted me upright. The gate was the only public access point, a heavy metal barrier with a call box and a doorbell camera angled downward to capture anyone approaching. I switched to the gate feed on my main monitor. There he was, a man standing stock still, about 6 feet tall, mid-40s maybe, with short cropped dark hair and a gaunt face. He wore a thin gray t-shirt, faded blue jeans, and scuffed sneakers. No coat, no hat, no gloves. In that cold, he should have been shivering violently, steam pouring from his mouth with every breath. But he wasn't moving, not at all. His arms hung limp at his sides, and his eyes... God, his eyes were locked straight into the camera lens. And they were wide open, unblinking, with pupils so dilated they looked like black voids swallowing the whites. At first, I assumed he was a former resident who'd relapsed and wandered back, or maybe a homeless guy seeking shelter. It happened occasionally we'd buzz them in, call social services, get them warm. I hit the intercom button. "Sir, this is security at Willow Creek. Can I help you? Are you looking for admission or emergency assistance?" Silence. No flinch, no nod, nothing. He just stared. I waited a full minute, then tried again. "If you need help, press the call button or state your name." Still nothing. The camera's night vision mode cast everything in greenish hues, making his skin look pallid and unnatural. I zoomed in closer. His chest wasn't rising and falling. No visible breaths in the freezing air, where even a statue would show condensation if it were warm. Unease prickled at the back of my neck. I checked the other perimeter cameras. No signs of forced entry, no footprints in the fresh snow leading up to the gate. How had he gotten there without tripping the approach sensors earlier? The gate was 200 yards from the road with open fields on either side. I logged the incident in the system. Unknown male at gate, non-responsive. Monitoring. Minutes ticked by. 5, 10, 20. He didn't shift his weight, didn't rub his arms for warmth, didn't even blink. I started timing his stares. 30 seconds, a minute, 2. Humans blink every few seconds. This guy was like a mannequin. By 3 a.m., I'd called my supervisor, Karen, who was on call but groggy when she answered. "Probably a junkie in a stupor," she mumbled. "If he doesn't move in an hour, call the cops. Don't go out there alone." I didn't want to. The control room felt safer, with its locked door and array of screens. But as the clock hit 4 a.m., he was still there. I panned the camera around. No vehicles nearby, no accomplices, just him staring. His expression wasn't angry or pleading. It was utterly blank, like a mask. I began to wonder if it was a prank, maybe a dummy propped up by bored locals. But dummies don't trigger motion sensors with body heat. At 4:30 a.m., I couldn't take it anymore. I dialed the non-emergency police line. "Yeah, we've got a suspicious individual at our front gate. Been standing there for hours in the cold, not responding." The dispatcher promised a patrol car within 20 minutes. I kept watching. At 4:45, just as red and blue lights appeared in the distance on the road cam, the man vanished. One frame he was there, the next, gone. No blur of movement, no footsteps retreating. The snow around the gate was pristine, untouched. The officers, a burly sergeant and a young rookie, arrived, shone their flashlights around, and radioed back. "No one here. Ground's frozen solid, no prints. You sure about the footage?" I emailed them a clip. They reviewed it in their car, then came to the gate. "Weird as hell," the sergeant admitted, "but if he shows up again, call us sooner." I barely slept that day, replaying the video on my phone. His eyes haunted me, those endless, unblinking voids. The next night I arrived early, double-checked the cameras, and settled in with extra lights on. 2:17 a.m., ping. There he was again. Same spot, same clothes, same stare. This time I didn't speak, I just watched, my hands trembling on the mouse. He stayed until 5:45 a.m., disappearing just before dawn's first light. Co-workers noticed my jitters the next morning. "Ghost of old man Wilkins," one joked. Wilkins was a legend, a patient from the asylum days who'd escaped, frozen to death outside the gate, eyes wide in death. I laughed it off, but inside, dread coiled tighter. Night 3, ping at 2:20 a.m. I refused to look. I turned the monitor away, blasted music through headphones, and paced the room. The motion light stayed on for hours. When morning shift arrived at 7, the feed was clear. No man, he never returned. But even now, years later, working days at a different job, every night shift story I hear brings it back. The staring man, waiting in the cold, eyes pulling you in. What was he? A hallucination from sleep deprivation? A glitch? Or something older, tied to the land, reminding us that some gates should stay closed? Word count, approximately 1,200. Story 2. The morgue transfer that went wrong, expanded version. St. Mary's Hospital was a relic in the heart of a fading Rust Belt city, built in the 1950s, with creaky elevators, peeling linoleum floors, and a basement morgue that felt like a tomb. I pulled night security there for 5 years, from 2015 to 2020, handling everything from rowdy ER visitors to body transports when the orderlies were short-staffed. The morgue runs were the worst, wheeling deceased patients down to the cold storage, tagging them and locking them away until the funeral home picked up. It was solitary work in the dead of night, with only the hum of the HVAC and the occasional drip from old pipes for company. One sweltering August night in 2017, the call came at 3:05 a.m. from the 4th floor ICU. Mrs. Eleanor Hargrove, 82, had passed after a long battle with congestive heart failure. "Natural causes," the nurse said over the intercom. "Pronounced at 2:50. Family's been notified. Just need her down to holding." No. I grabbed the gurney from the supply closet, a rickety thing with squeaky wheels, and headed up via the service elevator, the one reserved for transports to avoid scaring visitors. The ICU was dimly lit, monitors beeping softly in the background. Mrs. Hargrove's room was at the end of the hall, curtains drawn. The nurse, a tired woman named Lisa I'd seen around, handed me the paperwork. "She went peacefully," Lisa whispered, crossing herself. The body was small under the white sheet, frail from years of illness, gray hair peeking out, skin paper thin. I checked the toe tag and secured the sheet and wheeled her out. The hallway lights were on motion sensors flickering to life as we passed, casting long shadows that danced ahead. The service elevator was ancient, with scratched metal walls and a faint smell of disinfectant mixed with something metallic, like old blood. I pushed the gurney in, hit B for basement, and the doors slid shut with a groan. The descent was slow, the car jolting slightly on its cables. Halfway down, between floors 2 and 1, the lights flickered, dimming to a sickly yellow before stabilizing. I felt a chill, despite the summer heat outside. Then a rustle, soft, like fingers brushing fabric. It came from under the sheet. I froze, staring at the outline of the body. Just settling, I told myself. Bodies do that sometimes. Gases shifting, muscles contracting post-mortem. But then a whisper, faint, raspy, like wind through dry leaves. "Don't leave me here." My blood turned to ice. I yanked the sheet back, exposing Mrs. Hargrove's face. Her eyes were open, milky blue, staring blankly at the ceiling. Mouth slightly agape, lips cracked. No breath, no pulse when I checked her wrist. Cold, rigid. Rigor mortis was setting in. She was gone. But that voice, it had been feminine, pleading. The elevator dinged, doors opening to the basement hallway. A long concrete corridor lit by bare bulbs, leading to the morgue door 50 feet away. I wheeled her in quickly, the wheels echoing loudly. The morgue was a stark room. Stainless steel slabs, a wall of refrigerated drawers, and a desk with logbooks. I transferred her to a slab, filled out the entry form, and slid her into drawer number 7, slamming it shut with a clang that reverberated. As I turned to leave, I glanced at the elevator across the hall. The doors were still open, the interior light flickering erratically. The call button glowed, as if someone inside was pressing it repeatedly. But the car was empty. No shadows, no movement. I bolted for the stairs, taking them 2 at a time back to the main floor, sweat soaking my uniform. Back in the security office, I reviewed the elevator camera footage. There I was, wheeling her in. Lights flicker. Then, a glitch? The audio picked up the whisper clear as day. "Don't leave me here." But on the video, her mouth didn't move. I called Lisa upstairs. Did Mrs. Hargrove have any history, like near-death experiences? Lisa's face paled. "Actually, yeah. She coded last week, flatlined for 8 minutes. They brought her back with the paddles. She was hysterical after, begging us not to send her back down there. Said she saw a dark place, cold, with voices calling her name. We chalked it up to hypoxia delusions. I didn't sleep for days. Rumors spread among staff. The basement had been a makeshift morgue during a 1960s flu outbreak. Bodies stacked when freezers overflowed. Some said souls lingered, confused, reaching out. I started avoiding solo transports, always dragging a buddy. But even now, in a new job, I hear that whisper in quiet moments. A reminder that some departures aren't as final as they seem. Story 3. The Shadow in the Data Center, expanded version. TechSecure Data Solutions was a fortress of silicon and steel in an industrial park outside Seattle, a windowless building housing servers for major clients, banks, e-com giants, government contractors. As the overnight IT monitor from 2019 to 2021, my job was to babysit the beast. From midnight to 8 a.m., I'd watch dashboards for anomalies, run diagnostics, and patrol the server rooms if needed. The place was climate controlled to a crisp 60 degrees Fahrenheit, with rows of black racks, humming like a digital hive. Blue LED lights, pulsing in the dark. Isolation was part of the gig. No windows, thick walls blocking cell signals, and security protocols that kept even day staff out after hours. I'd bring books or podcasts to fight the boredom, but around 2 a.m., the witching hour they called it, the fatigue hit hard. Your mind plays tricks. Shadows seem to move. The hum sounds like whispers. One rainy November night in 2020, it started. I was in the control room, eyes glued to the multi-screen setup, when camera 7 in server room C flickered. A blur darted between racks 12 and 13. Small, fast, humanoid. I paused my podcast, heart skipping. Rat? We had pest issues before. I switched to high-res, rewound. There, clearer now. A child. A girl, maybe 8 to 10, in a white dress or nightgown. Long, dark hair whipping as she ran full tilt down the aisle, then vanished around the corner. Adrenaline surged. Kids weren't allowed, strict policy. I checked entry logs, no breaches, alarms silent. I grabbed my flashlight and radio, headed to room C. The door whooshed open with my key card, cold air rushing out. I walked the aisles, beam sweeping. Nothing. No footprints on the grated floor, no hiding spots small enough for a kid. Back at control, I reviewed again. The timestamp, 2:32 a.m. She appeared from nowhere, ran 20 feet, gone. 20 minutes later, another alert, same camera. There she was again, sprinting the opposite way, dress fluttering. This time, she paused mid-stride, turned toward the lens. Face pale as milk. Eyes huge and dark, mouth stretched in a silent scream. Then she bolted, fading into static at the frame's edge. Panic set in. I locked the control door, called the on-call manager, Raj. Intruder alert. Looks like a child in C. Raj groaned, half asleep. Probably a reflection or AI glitch in the cams. Run a diagnostic, I'll check in morning. But it happened a third time at 3:15. Same girl, same path, same terrified glance. I didn't leave the room until dawn. When day shift arrived, I showed the footage to Raj and the team. Brows furrowed. Weird, Raj said. But hey, remember yesterday? Client from Apex Finance was here for emergency maintenance around 6 p.m. Brought his daughter. Babysitter flaked. She wandered in for a minute while he worked. Security escorted her out. My stomach dropped. Timestamp on the video is 2 a.m., hours after. Raj shrugged. Must be a loop error. Old recording overlaid. They ran tests, systems clean. No glitches, but I couldn't shake it. I dug into the building's history online during off hours. The site had been an orphanage in the 1940s, shut down after a fire killed several kids. One girl, Emily, age 9, reportedly hid in the basement vents, screaming for help as smoke filled the air. The data center was built over the ruins. Nights after, I'd feel watched in room C. Shadows lengthened unnaturally. The hum warped into faint cries. I quit soon after, taking a desk job. But I wonder, was it Emily replaying her terror, or something mimicking the living girl, luring the unwary into the cold dark? Story 4, The Empty Hallway. Pager. Mercy General Hospital in a quiet New England town had seen better days. Parts of it dated back to the Civil War era, with additions tacked on haphazardly. The third-floor east wing had been shuttered since a 1980s electrical fire gutted it. Blackened walls, melted wiring, rooms filled with dust-covered relics like old IV stands and wheelchairs. As night security from 2012 to 2016, I had to patrol it hourly, flashlight sweeps for vandals, leaks, or squatters. It was eerie, echoing footsteps, drafts whispering through cracks, the faint char smell lingering. One foggy October night in 2014 at 4:02 a.m., my pager buzzed, "Code Blue, room 312, East Wing. All hands respond." Code Blue meant cardiac arrest, full team scramble, but the East Wing, empty for decades. No patients, no power. I radioed dispatch. Confirm location, East Wing's closed. Static crackled, then repeated. Code Blue, 312 East, stat. Dread bloomed in my chest. Prank? System glitch? I grabbed my heavy maglite and headed up the stairs. The elevator skipped the wing. The door to East was chained, padlocked. I unlocked it, chain rattling loudly. Inside, darkness swallowed everything. My beam cut through dust motes, illuminating peeling wallpaper and debris-strewn floors. Room 312 was midway down, door slightly ajar, odd as they were usually sealed. Pushing in, the air felt heavier, colder. In the center sat an ancient crash cart, defibrillator, oxygen tank, meds. Wheels leaving fresh tracks in the dust. It shouldn't be there. Carts were stored in active wards. The paddles were out, charged light glowing faintly, though no electricity ran here. Then beeping. A heart monitor alarm. Slow and insistent, from nowhere. No outlets powered. I swept the light. Empty room, save for a rusted bed frame. The beeping stopped. Over the intercom speaker in the ceiling, wires long cut. A calm voice. Male. Charging to 200 clear. I backed out, slamming the door, heart thundering. Downstairs, I checked the system. No code logged. No one else paged. Dispatch swore they hadn't sent it. Morning maintenance found the cart. Moved from basement storage overnight, no logs of who. The defib's dead battery screen read, "Patient unknown." TOD 412? My exact time in the room? Digging into records, I learned room 312 was ground zero for the fire. A patient, John Doe, coded there. Staff tried reviving him as flames spread, but he died at 4:12 a.m. The pager system had glitched during the chaos, calling phantom codes. I requested transfer to days. Some places hold on to their dead, but replaying final moments. Mercy General was one.